I've got no calls this year where clients want, I need a definitive answer. Why is my account up? But if it was down 5%, then the phone would be ringing, right? So we're only concerned why we're losing money. And so the other thing that a diversified portfolio does is it keeps you in for the long haul without having knee-jerk reactions. It's been it's been a debate for some of us too, because no matter what the markets do, you're always going to have a little bit of coulda, woulda, shoulda, whether it's stocks or bonds or real estate. It's the life we live. And so it's, conversation that I've had has been around these tech stocks, and it's been the coulda, woulda, shoulda moment. But what I want to show here, I've got a chart that shows what the Nasdaq has done here year to date, and I'm comparing it essentially to those other 493 stocks. You had mentioned that it's up about 4%. Now, inside of that value index, this is comprised of a lot of the stocks that many of our clients own. When you look at an average, let's say, retiree or someone who's 5 to 10 years away from retirement, they're not loaded up typically in tech stocks and rolling for the lotto tickets. They've got names like Procter and Gamble and Costco, dividend paying companies like that. And that's represented in that orange line. And so many people will look at this chart and think, gosh, I missed something here. Maybe we should be loading up. Why don't we have more than that? But then what I'll do is I start to drag the line out a little bit further, and it's going to show you really what this index has done. So now when we go back here just over, I think my chart here is just going back a few years. What you're going to see here is that the majority of the climb in the Nasdaq year to date is just clawing back the dramatic losses that it had in the latter half of 22. And so now when you look over the last few years, and I'll go back to the clients and say, okay, which one looks better now? Which ride would you rather be on, the purple line or the orange line? Now it's an easier sell. I think that's kind of when you look at the message here, that's really the goal is long-term steady performance, and tech stocks are fun right now, but anytime you can go up, 30 to 100% in some cases with some of these tech stocks, it's fun when it goes up, but it's not fun when you drop 50 to 80% like they did last year too.
And Jason, that goes back to kind of what we've said a number of times. How many times over the last 20 years have you had calls or clients coming in and, diversification doesn't work? Why do I have a diversified portfolio? And I got a slide here too that kind of highlights that, is that there's different periods of time where, yes, overexposure to a certain sector or index or anything could work. This again here, still just comparing the S&P 500 versus a diversified portfolio, about 60-40, if you will, but both U.S., international, and bonds as well. And so going back like 2000, 2002, S&P was down 40%. Diversified portfolio here was down 15. Clients are still saying kind of, hey, but I lost money. Well, yeah, relative to the market, you guys had done well. And then just going through different time periods, you look at, when markets go up, so that, 2009 to 2019, 10-year span, S&P was up almost 350% there. And the diversified portfolio was only up 220. So again, not participating at 100% there. And kind of what it just brings into full circle here is that we look at this year and certain indexes that or tech heavy is really driving these markets, and clients sometimes question, why are we not participating? If the S&P is up 18% or 15%, how come we're up 8, 9, 10, whatever it may be. And so it just shows you that over time, diversification can help and does work. And that's kind of what it shows here in that bottom chart there. When you look at the total return between the S&P and a diversified portfolio over, that 20-year period, it outperformed. And so it does smooth that ride out. And Jason, I know you like to use that line as, which one of these paths or roads do you want to ride on? It's like a roller coaster, and the sways and the ups and downs in it. And so if we can kind of smooth that line out over time, I think it's a little bit better of a path for clients.
A big point here in your chart is also assuming that these human beings did not alter their portfolio over the last 20 years when 100%. They were down 40%. And that's very, very rare. Clients are less likely to alter their portfolio when they're up 30%, because we don't need an explanation why we're making money. I've got no calls this year where clients want, I need a definitive answer. Why is my account up? But if it was down 5%, then the phone would be ringing, right? So we're only concerned why we're losing money. And so the other thing that a diversified portfolio does is it keeps you in for the long haul without having knee-jerk reactions. If you're in a far more aggressive portfolio, whether it be all tech, all stock, or something like that, you will be down plus or minus 15 to 20% every few years. And how likely, especially when your accounts get larger, if you've got $1 million+ portfolio, how likely are you to be down $300,000 and do nothing?
Yeah, that's the old
most aren't
spending
most
dollars instead of percent, right?
That's right.
So the only other thing, I mean, they pretty much hit it. The only other thing I'll say is, we quote a lot year-to-date numbers because, we live in a calendar year cycle. Most of our lives are revolve around a calendar year, but year-to-date's a totally arbitrary number. I mean, you're in the first month of the year, year-to-date's 1 month. Now we're in the 8th month of the year, it's 8 months. So quoting year-to-date, while it is valid, it's a different figure every time, a different time period. So when you look at it compared to not that chart. When you look at it compared to 1 year, then you see a better picture, because everyone forgets now that we're up a lot year to date on the NASDAQ that the last quarter or the last half of last year was really rough. And so you go from, I don't know what the number Kyle quoted, but we're up 29% on the NASDAQ, and the 1 year number, which only adds on a couple months, right? Another 3.5 months, and we're up less than 4%. So that rolling 1 year number is a constant number, right? 1 year is always 1 year. Year to date can be a slice in time that doesn't accurately depict the story. So good to.
The critical point with all that is, though, every client's plan sort of prescribes what their growth number is, what they need to be able to meet their plan. So we kick around the numbers, and I enjoy talking about it, but the reality is for most of our folks, they shouldn't need to try to earn 12% a year in order to make their plan work. That's just,
Chris, on that too, though. I
not what it
mean,
is.
we focus on the indexes because, I mean, anyone who watches the news, they're in your face too. If you read any type of publication, everyone's always talking about the markets, but beating a specific index should never be a goal. Not for us, not for a client. The goal is going to be the plan, what we're trying to do on cash flow, what the client needs, et cetera. I really joked with one client who was hammering on this point that said it's so important for him to beat the S&P. And I joked, I mean, I went extreme. I said, let's pretend the S&P 500 is down 10 years in a row. It's down 10% every year for a decade. And you only lost 8% every year for a decade. Are you high-fiving me? And so you beat the market 10 years in a row, but you lost money 10 years in a row. So that's never the goal. The goal is to make sure you don't run out of money and make sure you're able to live the life you want. Sometimes you'll beat the index, sometimes you won't, but it's like it's a conversation, and that's about it.
And like you mentioned earlier, the index never sells itself. It never sells out. If the S&P is down 40%, it's still the S&P, and it just rides back when the market comes back.
Still 100% invested is what you're saying.
100% invested.
There's no behavioral finance.
There's no behavioral finance. We have real people with real money, and when you see those numbers tumble to a certain level, you just, again, you like to think it's not going to happen, but at some point people just say that's enough. I can't take anymore. Where again, you're dealing with an index. It doesn't have those feelings. So you just can't compare yourself to something that's perpetual when we're talking about finite time periods.